Hello, welcome back to another vinyl show and tell. It's been a while, isn't it? I haven't done a video for about 5 weeks now. I expect you're all getting a bit worried, aren't you? Well, you can call off the search party because here I am, I'm back. Not a lot's been going on really, been a bit busy, been away on holiday and just thought I'd take a sort of a little break. But back with another Weekend Spins video, and there'll be plenty more videos to come, so stay tuned. So right, without further ado, let's get on with the record. So yeah, quiet weekend in. We all know what that means. Plenty of music being spun. So I'm just going to show you what I spun over that weekend and have a little chat about it. So first of all, we have got this. This is absolutely fantastic. It is brilliant. Fleetwood Mac's greatest hits. Now, just a word, I'm not really big into compilations. I'm not a really big compilation collector, but there are certain comps out there that are absolutely essential listening, and this is one of them. So this is the early Fleetwood Mac, i.e. the Peter Green era. This compilation was released in 1971. And what's so great about it, and the reason I do collect a few compilations, is that the majority of the tracks on here are not featured on any albums. This particular one here, it's an absolute banger. Now you might be able to see the tracks are actually listed on the front here, and what a selection we've got. We've got Green Manalishi, Albatross, Oh Well Parts 1 and 2, Man of the World, and many others. It is absolutely superb. Anyone who's into the early period of Fleetwood Mac, the Peter Green era, should have this really. I mean, even if you're starting out, it's a brilliant compilation to actually start with if you're not into that era of Fleetwood Mac, or not even into Fleetwood Mac at all. But there's so that, you know, the actual singles that were released at the time that did very, very well. A lot. I mean, Albatross got to #1. The majority of the others got in the top 10. It is absolutely fantastic. It really is just one of the best compilations out there. It's not to be confused with the other Fleetwood Mac greatest hits, which has got a green cover, and that is the Buckingham and Nicks era, which is absolutely fine, but it's a completely different album. This is very easy to find, always very cheap. Here we got an original. Actually, no, it's not an original. It's a second UK press on CBS with the Sunburst labels. Essential listening, really is. Definitely one to get. Okay, next up we have this one that I've been enjoying quite a bit recently. Great prog album. This is by Rare Bird from 1970, and it's called As Your Mind Flies By. It's their second album. This one is first edition on those lovely pink Charisma labels. I love these labels. The Mad Hatter labels that came later on, which people are most probably familiar with, are great, but these early ones with the scroll are lovely. I've had this record for years, and to be fair, I feel I've really neglected it. I played it for the first time in ages a few months ago, and I've spun it several times since. And it is really excellent. It's great symphonic prog, double keyboards, so 2 keyboard players, bass and drums. Quite ahead of its time, I actually think. For 1970, they did a side-long epic on side 2, which at the time, when I think about it, not many bands were doing. So I actually think they might have set a bit of a trend here. As far as I'm aware, I think they were the first band to be signed to Charisma Records. They certainly had the first release on Charisma. That was their first album, the one before this. 2 keyboard players. You've got Graham Field, who went on to form another prog band called Fields, whose album on CBS is excellent. And you've also got, if you look here, where are we? There he is. Another keyboard player is called David Caffanetti. Now, if he looks familiar to some of you, he actually popped up a good decade or so later as Viv Savage in the film Spinal Tap. He uttered those famous words in the closing credits, which were brilliant, of "have a good time all of the time." Absolutely fantastic. So yeah, great stuff. Rare bird, recommended as always. Right, bit of punk now. So we have got second album by the Dickies. It's original on A&M Records on lovely fabric softener blue. That's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of Lenore. So I first became aware of the Dickies about 10 years ago. I saw them, first time I'd ever heard of them, I saw them supporting the Damned at the O2 Academy in Bournemouth. As I say, I'd never heard of them at the time, but I was quite interested to check them out. As much as I love the Damned, I'm a big fan of them, very fond of them. The Dickies blew them off the stage. They were absolutely superb. It was the first time I'd ever seen the Damned live. I've since seen them again. But when I came away, I was there with my cousin, and we both agreed at the time, you know, straight after the gig, that the Dickies just stole the show. They were just so much better, which was a bit of a shame, really. I saw the Damned again a couple of years later, and I thought they were much better. But anyway, great punk band, really sort of frantic, high speed, what you'd expect from that era. There's a cover on here of Nights in White Satin by the Moody Blues that is punked and sped up. It needs to be heard to be believed. It just works, it really does. This is certainly a bit of an improvement from their debut. Their debut is very, very good, but this, their second album, Dawn of the Dickies, I think is slightly better. Better tracks, slightly heavier. Very, very good indeed. I've only got their first two albums. I really, really need to get more. So, yeah, great stuff. If you haven't heard it, Dawn of the Dickies, not too pricey, fairly easy to find, and it's not nearly always on blue vinyl when you get it. Okay, something a bit more recent, or certainly within the last 10 years anyway. We've got Erland and the Carnival with Closing Time. This is on Full Time Hobby label, lovely matte finish sleeve there. So I've never heard anyone in the VC, or anyone else ever, I think, talk about Erland and the Carnival. I don't know anyone else who listens to them or actually knows about them. I say them, it's actually the name for Erland Cooper. It's actually really a solo record. I think he does have people backing him, but it is someone called Erland Cooper, who I believe has collaborated with various artists over the year. This is the third album by them. It's on Full Time Hobby Records. It's 10 years old, but it is still in print. It is quite cheap when it turns up online. I've never seen it in the shops, but online it just seems to be. They seem to be sort of wanting rid of it at the moment, so if you fancy checking it out, grab it while you can. It's described musically as folktronica, which I suppose is quite right. It is slightly electronic, it is kind of folky. If you like indie pop, although I don't like the term indie pop, but I've got to use it here, this will definitely appeal to you. It's kind of ethereal, psychedelic. I find the earlier two albums by Erland a lot edgier. This one, sometimes his vocals seem to sort of grate me a little bit. They're a little bit breathy and croaky at times. The closing track called Daughter, which is like a lullaby, I could really do without. It's too twee and sentimental for my liking, but the rest of the album is really, really excellent. It's just a nice chilled out listen. So if you haven't heard Erland and the Carnival, check this out. Third album called Closing Time, or indeed their first two records. Very, very good indeed. Actually rare for me to show something in the last 20 years for a change. More 70s stuff coming up. So here we go. I can't say too much about this one. A lot of people will probably know this. It's by Steely Dan, called Katy lied. I won't go much into Steely Dan's music. I mean, if most people probably know what they sound like. I mean, they sometimes get a bit of a pasting here on the VC. I know there are one or two members that seem to absolutely crucify them, but I absolutely love them. This is a very, very good album, 1975. It was the first one I ever heard by them, and it did make me want to check everything out. Yeah, what more can I say? They are incredibly consistent. All of their records, their first 7 records, are very, very good indeed. They're really, really excellent. You know, it's highly polished production. great sort of, you know, meticulously good playing from all the session musicians they got in. But they are just great songs at the end of the day. Really good lyrics, you know, sometimes very, very sneering, very, very cryptic. My only thing with Steely Dan is the fact that the album that followed this, called The Royal Scam, I think is one of the best albums ever. I absolutely love it. And everything else they did sort of before or since didn't quite measure up to how good that was. I mean, if the rest of their catalogue were as good as The Royal Scam, they'd probably be my favourite band of all time. But nonetheless, Katy lied, and everything else they've done is well worth checking out. But I would say if you haven't heard Steely Dan at all, the Royal Scam, the following one from 1976, it's an absolute belter of an album. It is my personal favourite. Once again, when I see sort of, you know, online reviews of Steely Dan, there is no definitive album really. Every kind of fan of Steely Dan seems to think a different album is the best one. There is no kind of absolute definitive, so that's just my opinion. What can I say? Right, here we go. Here's an unusual one. This is by, right, I hope I'm saying this right, Semiramis, and the album is called Dedicato a Fraz. Now I'm actually gonna put a caption down to the artist name and title because it's not on the cover here. Although that front cover is absolutely fantastic. So we've got an Italian prog band here. Very, very obscure, from 1973. Before you all jump out of your skins, no, it's not an original copy. Originals of this are, as far as I'm aware, they're probably worth thousands now, and to find one would be nigh on impossible. I mean, here in the UK, probably in the US, anywhere outside Italy would be impossible to find. This is just a reissue. Unusual album. I haven't got a lot of Italian prog. It's not a kind of genre I really plan to delve too deep into. It's a bit of a rabbit hole if I do. It's very experimental sounding. They sing in their native language. Very, very disjointed and unpredictable arrangements, but very good. I mean, if you're a fan of prog, you will probably like this. But it's a very, very strange album. The vocals are very operatic. They always tend to be on these Italian prog albums, or the few that I've got. I suspect it's kind of from their, you know, heritage of opera from Italy. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. I don't know if this is an official reissue. It reminds me of the ones issued in Italy by Karma that have very, very high quality vinyl, very heavy wax, but ultimately are supposedly unofficial. But yeah, I don't really know what more to say about it except do check them out. Okay, right, here we go. We've got this by Mick Abrahams, or as the labels say, the Mick Abrahams Band. So you credit them or him as you will. Anyway, this is his first solo record. Mick Abrahams was formerly of Jethro Tull, as you probably know. He only played on the first album before forming Blood Wind Pig for two following excellent albums on Erland and then Chrysalis. And then he formed his own band, who put out 2 records, and this is the debut. Here it's quite bluesy in places, quite folky. I would say a bit more sort of, probably a bit heavier than Blood Wind Pig, a little bit less of the jazz and the horns, a little bit more of the blues and the prog on this one. The final track's about a quarter of an hour long, so you kind of get, you know, what this is all about. But if you're a fan of classic rock, prog rock, this is definitely one to go for. I definitely think a bit of an overlooked classic. It's a nice original on the Chrysalis label. And I have to show, although I don't think the camera's going to do it much justice, this back cover here, featuring this like mosaic of Mick. It's a great piece of art, but the whole sleeve is kind of embossed against the tiles. Can you hear that? Can you hear my hand running across where you can hear it's embossed? You probably can't, and the picture won't do it justice, but it's one of those sleeves where they just really don't make them like that anymore. It's just very, very nice. It's a nice package. Great gatefold. Look at the band members in there. I mean, they certainly look the part. You couldn't get more early 70s if you tried looking at that lot. Excellent stuff. Brilliant. I enjoyed playing that one. That was fantastic. Okay, finishing up with a couple from the 80s. We have got Reconciled by The Call. This is their fourth, I believe. I'm pretty sure it's their fourth album. It's from 1986. The Call, I think they're American. I need to do my homework before I start rambling on about these bands. But yeah, they're great. They started off as kind of a new wave post-punk, power pop sort of band. And well, I guess they remained that way. But I mean, I've only got this in their debut. But this particular album is more of a new wave power pop. It's got a very big production to it, you know, it's got a really sort of, you know, quite beefy macho sound. Fortunately, it's not too over glossy in the production stakes. I mean, 1986, things were getting a bit over polished from certain bands. But this is good. It's really, you know, the songs are very kind of anthemic sounding, very, very powerful, very emotional. I'm glad to have this. The albums, if you look at them on Discogs, they're not worth anything at all. But you just don't see them in the UK. I mean, this particular one I got from, I think it was the Netherlands, when I ordered a bunch of other albums from there. This was during the pandemic when I couldn't, we couldn't go shopping, and I just kind of added this one on the cheap. But I hardly ever see albums by The Call in the UK. I think some of them weren't even released here. But anyway, if you can get hold of any, definitely go for it. This one, fourth one, Reconciled, very, very good. That's on Elektra Records. Last but definitely not least, also from the 80s, is a firm favourite of mine. I have mentioned this band before. It's Loves Jezebel. Another band that you can pick up very, very cheaply. I do see their albums in the wild quite a lot, and a lot of the times I see them for under £5. They don't seem to sort of have granted them the reputation for people to be charging a fortune for, but they are really, really good. This is the second album, called Immigrant, from 1984. First pressing, or it might be a later variant anyway, on the independent Situation 2 label. They're kind of like a post-punk edging towards goth. That's all I can really say about it. Don't be put off by the goth tag. A lot of people are like, oh goth, oh no, it's still very, very good. They're not too gothy. The vocals are a little bit, maybe a bit of an acquired taste here, because they can be quite operatic. But yeah, if you're a fan of good power pop from the 80s, good new wave, good post-punk, you could do a lot worse than getting hold of some Loves Jezebel. As I say, so easy to find in the shops, or indeed if you want to go on Discogs or eBay, there's always someone selling it on there for a £5 or less. You know, if you want to go online, if you can't come across it, definite recommendation. So that's it for today. Short and sweet, just straightforward, just showing off what I'm listening to. I've got a few ideas for videos coming up, so there will be a lot more content over the next couple of months. I'll be back on a more regular basis. I know it's frowned upon to say here in the VC, but I'm going to say it. If you like what you see, give me a little subscribe. Just give me a little subscribe. Hit that bell icon, because my subs have not gone up. I know it's probably because I haven't made any more videos, but they've stayed a bit stagnant for the last couple of months, so it'd be great to get the channel moving again. So if you do like what you see, give me a sub, and please leave me a comment. It's not just to get the algorithms going, I promise you. I do love to hear from you. I'll always read what you put. I'll nearly always give a reply. So if you fancy making a comment, even if you want to rinse the things that I've been listening to, I don't mind. Please let me know. So yeah, that's all from me for now. Take care. See you again soon. Thank you very much for watching.